Hey y'all, and welcome to Peyton's Place. Here on Peyton's Place, I'm Peyton. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to be a successful student activist, but I'm also going to tell you everything you need to know as far as college, and we're also going to talk about different social movements going on right now, different hot topics, controversial topics, all kind of stuff. On today's episode, I will be talking about being black at a PWI, or a predominantly white institution. So first, I kind of just want to start with like a disclaimer. All of the different things I'm going to talk about. First, I'm going to tell you the benefits. I'm going to tell you the difficulties, and then we're going to talk about tips in general when you're black going to a PWI. So full disclosure, I went to a huge PWI. When I say huge, I mean like 45,000 students. So I'm speaking on my personal experience, but I also talked to some of my friends who went to school with me and a few other friends who went to other very large PWIs as well. Not saying that these are only things that happen at big PWIs, but just saying that these were our experiences going to a school where there was like 45,000 majority white students, and like my case, a few hundred black people. So I just want to let everyone know, like, these are the experiences I'm speaking from, but I do think a lot of these are going to be able to help you across the board, or you might be looking at this like, I feel that same way, and you might go to a smaller PWI. But first, I just want to start with the benefits. So one of the benefits of being black at a PWI, or also just in general in college, I feel like you really find yourself. Not to say that like you go into college like lost or confused about who you really are, but college is the first time for a lot of people, not all, where you're like really an adult. Like, you're away from home, you're on your own, you have to figure things out financially, mentally, physically, emotionally. And me personally, I had never been so far from my family, and I wasn't that far, but it was far enough. Very family oriented, and it was just super difficult. But I feel like in college in general, not just at a PWI, you really find yourself, and that's one of the benefits. Okay, so another benefit I would say being black at a PWI is that you really appreciate where you come from. Like, when I tell y'all, me going to college and being around like all these different types of people, and just to give you a background on myself, so I went to Milwaukee public schools for most of my life, kindergarten until 8th grade, and then my last 4 years I went to a private all-girls Catholic high school, majority white as well. So I had like a pretty good mix. My elementary school and middle school was very diverse, but it was still like a public school, but it was a great public school, one of the best. And high school, I had my first taste of like, you know, being a minority. So like I had an experience going into college, like not being part of the majority population. So it wasn't like eye-opening or like awakening for me. But I will tell you, like, being around some people, I was just like, oh my gosh, like I really appreciate how my parents raised me. I appreciate just like the way I grew up, the people I grew up around, the experiences I had, because for a few people, like I got there and it was like people act like they had never seen black people before or like been in contact with them. And mind you, like a lot of people come from like, you know, small cities in Wisconsin, but I was just like really appreciative of all the different cultural experiences I had prior to going to this school. The way my parents raised me, you know, to be respectful, like, you know, think of others, treat others the way you want to be treated type of thing. It just really made me like appreciate my upbringing. Another thing I would say is a benefit, but it could also be, you know, negative. But because the black population at PWIs are often so small, everybody knows everybody. So like whenever I would walk to class, if I was walking to class and I see another black person, like 9 times out of 10 I know this person. But sometimes I look and I'd be like, do you go here? Because I've never seen you before, because I really felt like I saw every black person at the school. Like, granted I didn't, but like that's just how close knit we were, and that's just how much of a bond we formed. Like, we were at this huge institution with like 45,000 people, but we had like our small little, you know, it was a few hundred of us, and we had like our own like college experience, and we all knew each other, which can be like, you know, beneficial, because when you are in those classes and there might be one black person, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna know them. But also with everyone knowing each other also comes a lot of different other issues that I'm really not gonna get into. Okay, another benefit I would say is going to a PWI. I was able to deal with white people like on a daily basis. That's the majority of the people I dealt with were white, and I feel like this gave me a taste of how like the work world is, because like, you know, as majority white people are the majority, and most of the time where you're working at a place, you're gonna be the minority if you're black, unless it's a black owned, you know, place. Shout out to all the black owned businesses out there. But it gave me a taste of like working with like white people, and like how some white people can view you, and how like it could be difficult. I'm gonna go into that a little bit more when I talk about the difficulties, but I think it really prepared me to like work with people in the work world once I did graduate and get my job, because I had every day dealt with people working with white people in a group setting, like depending on them for things like in a group setting. So like it was nothing new to me to like deal with this in the work world. Another benefit I would say is going to a PWI. You could be so chill going to class. Like I have friends who went to HBCUs and they were like cute every day for class, and I was just like, I could never. Like, shout out to y'all, because, and I know not everybody got real cute to go to class, like obviously, but like I went to class looking how I looked. Like it wasn't nothing special. You could just be real chill, because it wasn't like a competition with like, you know, it wasn't nobody checking for me. It was like I was just going to class, so I could be like comfortable, chill. Like I was still cute, don't get it twisted, but I was able to just be like comfortable. Like it wasn't any type of like, you know, I had to dress up or look this or look that. So that was like, you know, that was cool. I will also say at PWIs, they have a lot of money for black people. Now me personally, I was not in a scholarship program, unfortunately, but there was a lot of money. Like most of my friends were in scholarship programs, fully funded college education for one of the top schools in the world. And also just like scholarships. I did get like a few like grants on the side and scholarships and stuff once I did get there, but there's like a lot of money at PWIs, especially like if you're into research. Like the school I went to was one of the top research institutions in the world as well, and a lot of my friends got paid to do research. Like not just undergrad, graduate level, PhD level. Like they were paid to do things that they really wanted to do because the money is there, which is also a benefit of going to a PWI. I think another benefit I would say is it's easier to get recognition for the things that you do. So when I say that, I mean like it's 300 black people out of the 45,000 students at the school. So like it's easier to like pinpoint, you know, different things that you're doing and recognize you for different things when it's not as many black people and it's not as much competition. So like just different awards, like they have like the like Woman of Color award, like, and granted that's for not just black people, but like that's something where like when you have a small pool to choose from, it's easier to get that recognition because people are doing great things everywhere at every school. But when you're at a school where you're the minority and you're black at a mostly white institution, they gonna see you. So you're gonna get recognized for a lot of the work that you do. Okay, so one of the difficulties of being black at a PWI is kind of like I was talking about a little bit before, is that it's not going to be many black people. So like it can depend on like the size of your school, whatever. My school, it was like 45,000 students and only like 300 or 400 maybe of us was black, and that include the athletes, and like they got a whole different experience than the rest of us. But I would just say that like you can be the only black person in your major. Like I was in lecture halls of like 300 people and I was the only black person in those classes, and like you just walk in and it's a real shock because it's just like, where the people at? To like give y'all a little bit of my personal experience. So I went to my school freshman year, first semester. I was ready to transfer. Like I called my parents. I was like, I'm over this. I can't deal with this no more. Like I'm tired of walking into these classes and people looking at me like they ain't never seen no black person before. So I had filled out all my paperwork to transfer, go to a different school. My parents was like, you know, just stick it out, finish your second semester. And it got better, but like it was rough, y'all. Like it was rough. So you just got to be used to being around people who aren't like you, and it's not even just like not like-minded, but like people who like look like you. So that's like one of the most difficult things. Okay, so another thing you're gonna have to deal with that's difficult is the racism. And I could do a whole segment on this one, but I'ma just keep it short for y'all. So like you deal with like microaggressions, like, you know, where people, for example, I'll be in a group and like, you know, people picking their groups and stuff and they all get together and stuff, and I'll just be the last one there because they just be thinking I'm dumb or something. And I'm like, y'all could pick me. Like, you know, you gotta like keep telling yourself that I'm supposed to be here just as much as everybody else is supposed to be here, because they gonna make you feel dumb. Don't let them make you feel dumb, because you there for a reason, okay? But it's like, it's just little things like that, and when you gotta deal with that every day, that could really weigh down on you. But also like people are just blatantly racist too. People don't try to touch my hair. Like I'll be sitting in the lecture hall and this girl's just like, oh my, no, don't do that. Like it's just, you gonna have to deal with it. And then they just, you know, they don't know, so they like, you gotta teach them. And then it's like, am I here to be a student or am I here to really teach y'all? Because it's exhausting. So like you deal with a lot of racism, and it's not just from students. Like you gonna deal with some racist teachers, TAs, residential assistants, supervisors. Like people just racist. I mean, like the world is racist, but like I was dealing with racism and I was like, I feel like I was young to be dealing with all this, and I'm like, y'all kids too, how can y'all be this racist? But you gonna grow some thick skin for sure, because yeah, you're gonna do a lot of racism. Okay, so another thing you're gonna deal with, not only is it's kind of like the opposite of like, you know, people not wanting to work with you, you also gonna be the token black person. So I got friends who like graduated like, you know, a few years ago, and they still on flyers and stuff. Like she don't even go here no more.
She doesn't even go here.
Do you even go to this school?
But like people will really try to tokenize you. Like they gonna be like, oh yeah, like, well, because Peyton does this and she can do this, all black people do this. Like, girl, no. So you gonna have to deal with that. Like they gonna think that you could tell the story for all black people. I can't even tell the story for like people that I'm close with. Like I can only tell my story, but they gonna think because you went through this, or like you say this, or Peyton can do this, that like this is just what all black people are like. And it's gonna get draining as well, because they really gonna tokenize you. But like I said, you gonna build some thick skin. Okay, so the last difficulty, I would say it's mostly for, you know, the women, but my guys were struggling too. It's gonna be hard to find a good hairstylist. Like it depending on what city you in. Like if you in like down south at a PWI, it's probably a little different, because like people could do hair. But I was in Wisconsin, and when I tell y'all, some people wigs be looking like I did them, because don't nobody do hair. Like, so it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to find people. Like people would drive from the city I went to school in back to Milwaukee, because that's where like all the black people live, to get their hair done. Like, and who wants to be walking around college looking like what you going through? Like, that's no. So it's gonna be hard to find a good hairstylist. For guys to find a good dude who could, you know, cut your hair, because who want to be out here in they line and getting pushed back because don't nobody know how to cut hair. So you gonna struggle like to find somebody depending on what city you in. If you lucky enough to be in, you know, a big city with a big black population, I'm sure you can find somebody, but it might be a struggle, because it's not like it's that many people on campus. So like, you know, you can't just go to the girl next door and get your hair done. Like it's a struggle. Okay, so the last portion I want to talk about as far as being black at a PWI is just different tips. So the first tip I'm gonna say is like find your people, like get as close with as many black people as possible, and just like form really solid relationships, because those are the people who are gonna be able to relate to you, because y'all are all black on this campus. Y'all are going through like similar experiences. So I would just say, like, you know, find those people who you can really like connect with and relate to, and just like form solid friendships with them. And those gonna be some of your friends for life, because y'all gonna laugh about stuff, y'all gonna cry about stuff together, y'all could talk about all the different races encounters that y'all gonna go through, or like who could do this and do that as far as like hair or where to shop, stuff like that. So find your people. I will also say get involved on campus. So, and not just in like black organizations, like, you know, Black Student Union or like Black Greek organizations or whatever, but like get involved in like all organizations. So yes, you want to be able to like find those black people who you can relate to, and like connect with and talk to about all the different things going on, but you also just want to like be well-rounded when it comes to different organizations as well. So get into those other organizations. They looking for black people because they need your input, because who gonna tell them how to reach us besides us? Okay, so the next thing I want to remind you, or like a tip or whatever, is remember all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Okay, because just because we all black here at this white institution, that don't mean that we all in this together automatically. Like, you gonna find them people who just really not, they just don't get it, like, for lack of a better term, they just not woke. So you gonna have to like realize that like everybody you can't just confide in and like talk to about what you're going through, and that's not just with students, like that's gonna be with some like teachers as well, professors. You might be excited that you got a black professor and they might not be the one. So just remember that, you know, you got to feel people out, but that's just like with anything. But just because somebody else is black don't mean that like, you know, their experience is the same as yours, and that you're gonna really be able to like depend on this person just because, you know, they black. I will also say, like, be patient with yourself, because college is difficult. If y'all seen my last video of my brother, I was talking about how I done dropped some classes and stuff. We ain't gonna keep talking about that, but it's really hard, y'all. So, and it's also really difficult when you have to deal with like racism and like doubting yourself because people don't think you should be there, like on top of how difficult college and school can be. So be patient with yourself, like just allow yourself to know that you're here for a reason, and it's not gonna be easy. And the last thing I want to say is, do not compare your experience as a black person at a PWI to somebody who goes to a HBCU. That's like comparing apples to oranges. Like, it's two totally complete experiences that aren't comparable, honestly. So just like make the most out of your experience. And even like going to different PWIs is different. Like how I experienced my black experience at my school is going to be totally different than someone else's black experience at another PWI, or someone else who's black at my school. So just focus on like, you know, yourself, making the most on your campus, and don't compare it to anyone else's experience, because it can never be the same, honestly. So if you do choose to go to a PWI, I had some of the best years of my life in college. Honestly, I loved it, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say it was like super easy. Like I said, I wanted to transfer at first. I hated it. It was very difficult, but in the end, once I found my people, and I like was able to really build those friendships and relationships, and really like understand how to just be confident and be myself on this campus with like as a minority, I had such a great time. So I know people always try to like knock PWIs and this, that, and the third, but you know, it's not for everyone, but you can have a great college experience. So if you have any other questions or comments, or if you related to anything that I said in this video today, go ahead and comment. I want to thank everyone who's already liked and subscribed on my other videos, and also ask you to subscribe as well if you have not, and hit that little bell to turn on your post notifications. And I'll catch you here next week on Wednesday at 11 a.m.